Hello YouTube, it's Carlos the Rook, and I'm coming at you at Game 7 in the World Open 2025 from Philadelphia. I'm playing Amrit, who I believe was, let me see, 1900. So he was 1900 and I was 1810 in this game. Hold on, let me switch this back. Alright, there we go. So I start off with e4. He plays c5. I go knight f3, d6, d4, c captures d4, knight captures d4. We're going into another Sicilian. Knight to f6, hitting the pawn on e4. I protect it with knight c3, a6, and he's playing my Najdorf. Najdorf is one of my favorite openings. I love playing both sides of it. So I respond with f3 here, protecting the pawn on e4 and preparing the bishop e3, queen d2, cross castle idea. He goes e6, so now he transitions into the Scheveningen. And I did not pronounce that right, but I'm not Dutch. So I go bishop e3, he go b5, I go queen d2, he goes bishop d7. So I wasn't sure about bishop d7, it just didn't look right. The engine wants knight b to d7, so I didn't know what his idea was with the bishop being on d7. But now that I think about it, maybe to support the b5 pawn with a possible, maybe queen c8, queen b7, and then he can start pushing his pawn, maybe? I don't know. So I respond with bishop d3. I wasn't sure where I wanted my bishop at. If I wanted on d3, e2, and some lines it even goes to h3. And I haven't played this opening in so long, I forgot my opening prep. My prep here is g4. And it should be g4, h4. I start my push on the king side. He's still sitting in the center and he hasn't castled yet. So he responds knight c6. I dropped the knight to b3. I didn't want to trade knights and bring his bishop to a more active square. And the stockfish gives me a question mark. It wanted a4 instead. So stockfish wants the castle king side and bust open the queen side with a4, similar to a Ruy Lopez Spanish game. So he goes d5. My whole point of dropping the knight back to b3 was I thought I was preventing d5. So I capture on d5, he captures back. And because I put the bishop on d3, now my queen is no longer there to stop that d5 idea. So that's why bishop d3 was very, very wrong. So here, Stockfish wants me to cross castle now. But I go queen f2 because I had an idea from another Najdorf line where the bishop patrols this diagonal down here. So the bishop patrols that, stopping any activity from black along those diagonals. So bishop e6, now cross castle, bishop e7. He's developing his pieces, getting ready to castle. And this was my big idea. Bishop b6 hitting the queen. With the idea of then bringing the bishop to c5. And bishop captures c5, queen captures c5. Hitting the knight and stopping black from castling. But the flaw in that plan is he doesn't have to capture the bishop. So if he doesn't capture the bishop, then he can still castle. So his queen moves out of the way. And I go knight to c5 here. And it's the same idea, trying to get his bishop to capture. He puts the rook back on me. So I capture his bishop And now my queen protects my bishop. He takes back with the pawn. I bring the rook on h to e1, putting pressure on the e pawn. And here he dropped knight d7, hit my bishop. So I dropped the bishop to e3, getting it out of the way. And now he castles. And I made the worst move I could have possibly made, which was h4. I should have did king b1. I know better. I know in these positions, king b1 is always a thematic idea to move the king to safety. And if I would have did this thematic idea, which I absolutely know you're supposed to do in these type of positions, then I wouldn't get into the trouble I got in when his knight came into b4. So I went h4. And my idea is to go h4, h5, followed by g4, g5, and start my pawn side storm. But it's too slow, entirely too slow. He responds bishop f6. And I drop back bishop d2, protecting the knight so he don't break my pawn structure. And now he hit knight to b4. Devastating move. Because if the knight captures, this is the idea he has. Let's say I do something like a3. His idea is here, here, and then he coming like right here for the knight's pin. Now here in this situation, I can take with my pawn and he take back with the rook, and my king is just exposed. It's completely exposed. So let's go back to where it was. Queen e3. Yes, that's what I did. I went queen e3 with the idea of taking the e6 pawn with check. Let me see what Stockfish wanted here. Stockfish still wants king b1. Even here. King b1, knight c4. So I went queen e3. He goes d4, forking the knight and queen. I take the pawn with check. He moves his king out of the way. And I can't move my knight out of the way because then he get the bishop for free. Just you see what I'm saying? If I move my knight out the way. Oh, that's just a suffocation mate. That's brutal. Suffocation mate. So I had to give up the knight and go down a piece. But I'm like, at least I get 2 pawns here. So I drop back queen e4, protecting the bishop. He captures the bishop with knight captures d3 check. I take back with the queen. And here he put knight c5. That was just brutal. Now my queen is forced to move out of the way. I wanted my queen on this line so I could stop the pawn structure from being broken up. Now my queen has to move. Takes with the pawn. And here I was desperate. I just wanted to try something because I saw the line of bishop captures c3 didn't work. So he captures on b2. I step out of the way. Bishop captures g5. H captures g5. Knight to a4 with the idea of knight c3. Oh, that's wrong. Knight c3. That's the idea. So I bring my rook up to protect that so he can't fuck my king and queen. Knight c3 anyway. I give up the exchange. Now I move my queen up. So now I'm just down a rook. You go queen c4 to try and exchange. I put a little pressure on the rook. Trying to exploit the fact that his back rank is weak if he bring a rook off. So he double up. I bring the rook up to protect. And he brings his other rook over, threatening rook to d1. I drop the queen back. It's mate coming. It's unstoppable. Rook checks. King captures. Queen mates. And the game was over. And this was a devastating blow. To lose like this in an opening that I'm very familiar with, that I have opening prep for, and I lost because I just played the opening wrong. So this was a hard lesson in, first, remembering your opening prep, and second, following the thematic ideas and openings when you know them, to not deter or deviate from the thematic ideas. King B1 is thematic, and H4 was entirely too slow. So this is just a learning lesson to go back to the drawing board, study harder, and to utilize the principles that I've instilled within myself. Thank you for watching, YouTube. It's Carlos the Rook. Hit the like button and please subscribe. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.